Good morning. Welcome to Tea Time with Amie and Bev. Hello,
Good
hello.
morning.
How are you?
Really, really good. We had rain last night. I don't know about yourself, but it
Yeah.
was nice. Yeah, it was nice. I like it.
Yeah,
Cleansing.
just for people outside of the desert, when it rains, we act like we've never seen rain before. I'm just saying,
Every
that's the way
time.
I am. I go,
Because
it's
it's been,
raining. Oh, it's raining. That's how excited I get.
yep, yep. Same here, and we have skylights that hit when the rain hits it. It's
Yeah,
like, oh, it's raining. It's raining. I can hear it over the movie I'm watching right now.
yeah. And I'll
So
go
it's
out
awesome.
back and I'll look up in the sky and I'll go out front and I look up in this. I'm just like, it's crazy. It's fun. Crazy fun.
It is crazy fun.
Oh, is
How are
anything
you
in your
doing?
heart? I'm good. Yeah, we're good. Good, great, fantastic, wonderful, amazing.
And what was the question you just asked?
I said, what's on your heart?
This only makes me laugh because I've been going through a little bit of a space. I guess I recognize, and it's to do with the heart. So
You're
get out of my
welcome. Is that great or what? I was like, oh,
it
what's
is,
on your heart?
it is.
Usually, isn't that funny? Because usually I ask you, what's going on, Bev?
Yeah, that's why
Right?
I had to ask you again. What did you say? Because I could have swore I heard heart, like mother,
I said, what's on your heart?
because I wasn't going to be talking about this today. So it's like, we talking about this today. But it's my experience, right? You can think that we're so evolved and that we're so beyond so many things, but I still go through my stuff. And yesterday I was going through just like it's a natal report from Afro or what is it? Astro Cafe or Cafe Astrology. That's what it is. And they do a huge report, and it starts talking about the black moon and Lilith, and it's in my fifth house and some other stuff. So I started doing some research to find what the hell does that even mean. And it talks about just a person that has this in their fifth house. Well, this is like their place of creativity, their confidence. And a lot of people might think that I'm very confident, but they're on the inside, I'm just not. And I have this creativity within inside of me, but it's like it's not coming out. I mean, I say it's not coming out, but I just feel it there. But there's something. It's just not flowing like it could be flowing. That's how I feel. Like there's just something going on. And I'm reading about this, and it talks about going through stuff earlier in age and being shamed for being myself at some point. So so I stopped being myself because I'm still trying to figure out what is myself. What do I like? What? And I feel like there's more because you get a glimpse of things. It's like getting a glimpse of like all this love there's a potential of it. And it's like, but you only get a glimpse of it. You don't get to stay in it, or you don't get to revel in that space for a long time yet. Like I'm getting glimpses, which I'm lucky I'm getting glimpses. But I feel like my heart could be so much more open. And that's what it talks about. That would be that when it's in your fifth house, it's very hard. It's a struggle. It's having that confidence, it's having that creativity and not being overly stuck in the ego, because the ego can run everything in that space because it's like a defensive thing. It's like a protective measure. So it's like, it just talks about all the stuff. And it's like, I really feel it. It's not about healing my foot. It's not about healing my hair, my scalp, my hernia, my whatever I find to be wrong with this body. It's not about any of that. It's about love. It's all about love. And nothing has to do with anything besides that. So now it's like my focus has changed from me being able to prove to myself that I can heal myself, because I know it's true. I know these can happen, but it's all led me back to this place now, and it's right to my heart. It's like being in that focus. I've heard different meditations recently, like close your eyes, but see through your eyes while they're closed. Really fine tune, listen to everything you can hear when your eyes are closed, and then taking your focus right to your heart. And for my heart, I don't feel like it is as vibrant, or I feel like it's restricted, it's blocked, and it's like I felt places where it feels open. When I think about my grandbabies, I get this overfilling, this overwhelming feeling of love. But I feel like it's still, even for me, it's still a controlled. I'm still controlling it. I can love those around me, and I can let them love me up to a point. It's hard to explain unless you're feeling like all these feelings. It's very confusing, but that's where I'm at right now. And it's not like I'm a victim, or poor me, you know, any of that kind of stuff. It's like, oh, okay, so this is another thing that's been shown to me. I'm ready to see this now. I'm ready to recognize that it's all about love. It's really feeling that unconditional love, but like feeling that outwardly to everybody all the time. It's non-judgmental, but it's not even just the thoughts, because I've been in this place where I understand not to judge, and I understand where people are coming from, you know, that this is their place. I understand all that stuff, and maybe that's why I'm at where I'm at right now. But it just feels like it's good because I feel like I have more questions, I wanting more answers, because I know that I'm like, I know, I'll go with my first words. I know that I'm like on this precipice. I know that I'm right here, that my heart's just going to burst open. Like it's just going to break open all the stuff that's been from this parallel lifeline to all my other lifelines. Like I feel like this is such a huge deal that's happening. So that's what's on my heart. That's kind of it. I'm not sure exactly.
Talking the whole hour, go for it.
Oh no, 9 minutes, I think, 8 minutes, but yeah. No, but it's just that it's just like it's like a big arrows, lit up arrows, like pointing to the one, you know, right to my heart area. It's like, hey, the doorway is right here to everything else.
Yeah.
And I know that.
Yeah. Something that's come up a lot lately is the longest journey is the journey from your head to your heart. And it's getting from your head space saying, I don't deserve love, or they don't deserve my love, thinking in those terms, and drop down into the heart and recognize if we're already spirit and love, then that's our natural state of being, is to love. So I deserve my love, and so does everybody else. And you can love people from a distance. I just had that conversation with my mom. She was talking about somebody who hadn't called her since she's moved to, they moved to Texas this year. And she was talking about a person who hasn't even called, checked in on them or anything. And I said, you know what? It's not going to matter, because even if they call you, you're going to complain about them calling you. You're going to complain about the conversation. You're going to complain about how much that person complained about their life. I said, so honor that, love them where they're at, and be okay with them not calling you. It's okay. I said, you can love them from a distance. I said there, and I told her, I said, there's many people in my life. I love them at a distance, and I honor where they're at with their life. And it doesn't mean I'm better than them, by no means, but coming into the heart space and just love. It's okay. So I'm under, you know, I understand what you're talking about. And it's when the more we're practicing being in that space of, and I'm going to add the compassion to it, the more we're in that space of compassion, because I feel like compassion and love go hand in hand, that we're softer. And it doesn't mean I'm soft like pushover. I'm soft in the sense of understanding. And I can understand, I can have compassion, I can have love. And I can keep my distance. It's okay. Not like a hen, right? Where I got to gather all the chicks underneath me to keep them warm. It's not my job. That job was being the fixer. And that job was exhausting. So I'm like, yeah, that's out of my hands now. So yeah, I love that you are bringing this up. It's great.
It's, for me, it's more of a feeling, because it's not, I understand what you're saying, because I am in so many ways doing all those things. I'm already doing those things, but it's just that feeling, being in that space of that feeling. And maybe that's me being more connected in with the feeling body, the energetic body. It's because it's not about the words and stuff like that, because it's not, words don't matter. We know you can sit across from someone and they can be saying all kinds of things, all kinds of words, and they could be fearful or angry or say that they're a space of love, but not be a space of love because you feel things. It's just the whole feeling thing, like feeling it. And it's just to be in that space of that feeling all the time. Like for the longest time, I could feel my third eye. I mean, I could feel it. There's like a vibration there. I can feel my crown if I put my energy onto it. I can focus onto my heart area. And sometimes I can get like a little bit of a vibration, but it's not that much of a vibration, that feeling. Recently, I've been getting more of, I can feel the energy in my root and my sacral chakras, the energy centers, and those, the lower portion of the body. I could actually feel vibrations. I've actually felt like a vibration. If I eat food or something and my body's digesting it, I can feel not the body digesting it, but the actual vibration of that energy. So maybe that's where I'm at the next part, I'm at the heart. So it's like that whole feeling thing. Like I guess maybe these near-death experiences have really fucked me up. Noticed it.
You're like, ah, man.
Because you listen to them and it's like you feel this such an unconditional love. And it's like, I know that it's right there, but I believe my beliefs, it doesn't have to be us just having a near-death experience. It doesn't have to be us just leaving our physical being to feel those things. I believe that we can feel all that here. We can emanate all that here. We can be all of that here. It doesn't have to be there. It doesn't have to be like that. So it's like creating your own heaven on earth, basically. So it's like that's kind of what I'm feeling for. That's what I'm leading into, I guess. And I guess that as we have these conversations, we'll see what comes up next, because there's something else is going to come up next after it.
So stay tuned for the journey of Bev and her heart.
Yeah. I'm just going to throw it over my shoulder and carry it around for a while right now. Yeah. Yeah, that reminds me of the comment that people would say, oh, he wears cancers. They'll say cancers have a tendency to wear their heart on their sleeve or on their shoulder. And
Yeah.
it's like, that is not a bad thing. That's an
Right.
amazing thing. That's an awesome thing.
Right. Yeah, we are very, we just want to help and love and do everything for everybody. Because I am one. So,
Yeah.
and that's where that fixer comes into, right? We want to soothe everything. There's also the fact that in science that they've come to understand that our body actually has 3 brains, and that's our brain, our heart, and our gut. And so it's our brain in the sense of our mindset, because our mindset's going to affect our emotions as our heart, and our heart. If we have heaviness in our heart, in our emotions, then it affects our physical body, our processing, our taking in life, and how critical. I mean, it's like critical. We were human, we get to choose, but it's really critical that we're really aware of what we're doing with those 3 brains in our body, those 3 systems, because it's all participating with each other, communicating with each other for us to live this life. And it wasn't until 5 years or so that I was hearing about the heart being another component of our operating system, which makes a lot of sense. And then when they started talking about the gut as well, it was like we have these 3 main systems, and it's like, is this so cool or what? And to bring them, I'm not going to say, you're going to absolutely bring them all into alignment, but I know like mine was just scattered for most of my life. And I'm closer into alignment, which feels way better than where I used to be. And I don't have the physical discomforts like I used to have on a daily basis, because I brought them more into congruency, a little closer together. It's still a practice, and so it's okay. And I give myself permission, and I honor myself where I'm at with that. The goal is, though, is I just keep doing and being better.
Which I agree. And that helps us, for me, this just helps me to ask more questions, for it to be better. It's just not something I was raised with, or I didn't And it's not because anybody did anything wrong. You know, we've talked about that. It's just we did what we knew. And that's where it comes into play too, being aware how we're operating are on a subconscious level, on an unconscious level, like putting new information in. It's very valuable for ourselves to create new information. For me, I feel like if you could see the body and all these energy centers and they were like pipes or energy lines, you know, like the meridians they talk about in a lot of acupuncture and acupressure and stuff like that, they talk about meridian lines that run through the body. And I almost feel like in some areas, you know, instead of it running straight, something curved, you know, something, and
Like,
that's just because something got curved early in life.
yeah.
And it is that, and that was probably my mission when I came here, was to, so I could experience and go through this so I can help guide other people to get through it too. Like I feel like it's going to be easy, but it was just a matter of the asking. And it's just, I'm not holding myself back, but again, forgiving myself if I felt like I have been holding myself back. You know, there's just so much stuff that comes forward with this heart stuff and being hurt and shamed. And it's like a lot of times, most of us can't remember. I can't remember back to, and I think it was probably more than one person, but remembering back to being shamed as a child, shamed for being myself. And then that goes back to me thinking about school and stuff like that, being shamed in school as well. So there was like so much stuff that was going on. I couldn't say that this person did this to me because it wasn't about that. This experience was in my experience so that I could be where I am right now, period. So we could be having this conversation. That's it. So we can all grow together. It's not, so we're not limited, because that's the people that are going to be attracted to this are the people that need it. And it's like what Freeman was saying. He says, 10 years from now, people are going to be listening to your first videos and being like, holy shit, I could have been listening to this all along. You know, it's kind of like the same things that we've listened to, because it's just guidance, you know, because we're all in a different place, and it doesn't matter when you get there or how you get there. Nobody's better. It's not a race. There's no competition. I think it's an amazing thing to be on the journey. And if someone in your life wants to stay in the place where they're at, love and honor them where they're at in that space, because that's their space. And that's not an easy space to be in, because that most of the time, those that are in that space are constantly living in their own personal hell all the time. Like it's a full-time job. And it's like, and I remember a person in my family saying to another person in my family, like, you don't understand how it is. I think all the time for us. Like, but that's because that's what he thinks that was his job. And it's like, we're like, whatever. That is like the stupidest comment to me at that time, but it wasn't a stupid comment because that was his experience. That was that person's experience. That's how that person felt about it. He put that role upon himself.
Right.
And so that's why I say his own personal hell. So it's like, like you said before, and we've talked about before, love and honoring someone from a distance, because it's not easy to be in that space. It's not, but I'll take my space over that space anytime. I've already been in that space. I've already visited that trip, that island, that whatever you want to call it. I've been there, done that, got my t-shirt. I'm out. Like here I am, just different. Yeah. And it's even like the family said, well, what if you guys came back together and started talking and stuff? And I'm like, but what are we going to talk about? The conversations, and that's setting myself up too, just even now thinking about it. But because the conversations, even what I hear when this person talks to other people that I know, they've never changed. They're all in that same space. So again, it's just there's no value to that for me anymore. I've learned from that. I've learned a lot from that. I've even learned love from that. I really have, to be in that space and still love that person. But I just know that it's not an energy that I want to step back into. There's a lot of things I've done in my lifetime and I've loved and learned from it, but it's not a place. I'm not going to go step back into the heavy drinking, the trying out, doing all the drugs or whatever I was doing when I was a kid. There's just no, I've been there. I survived it. I was lucky that I was not a person to be an addicted personality. I was able to walk away from a lot of things once I decided I wanted to walk away from it. So
Yeah.
I'm lucky as far as that aspect goes, because I think some come in, you know, my brother fought with a lot of that stuff, but I don't know what all his personal journey was, but he did. That was this for him, it's, from my perspective, it seemed like a struggle since he was probably about 12 or 13 years old. So just a lot of stuff, but that was his journey. I'm sure that when he got to the other side, he probably asked, did you do everything you want to do? Did you live? Well, he kind of lived outside of what everyone expected him to. And that's his choice.
Right.
And I love and honor that.
Yeah. I had something I was going to say and it like went away.
So I get this. Yeah. It's
Interesting.
all right. Because we just don't sit and think about constantly what we're going to say.
Right.
You used to. I mean, I used to.
Yeah.
Like, oh God, she said this. I better write this down real quick so I can bring it up again.
True.
And it's just so not that way.
I got it. Okay. So, being in that space of years ago, that old self, knowing how to deal with anger through addiction, alcohol, cigarettes, fixer, people pleaser, drama, like it's all addiction. I knew at that time, I knew it from a young age. This didn't feel good. This didn't feel good. What I was experiencing didn't feel good. The way I felt didn't feel good. And at the time, because I was doing what I knew how to do, I turned to alcohol for a while. And I use, everybody's like, oh, I'm so stressed. I need to go have a cigarette. Okay, well, cigarettes cure that stress. And all of it, I recognized that didn't feel good either. And I knew it wasn't healthy for my body, even though I continued to do it for a little while. And then, like you said, I just decided this isn't for me. This isn't taking care of my stress. It's still there. And even while I'm smoking, I'm still thinking of the problems and still drumming up that sensation in my body. And I knew it didn't feel good. I knew it wasn't the right thing for me. And I knew I needed to do something different, but I didn't know what that was. So I kept the behavior for a while until I started reading books and learning about meditation and energy and all that. The smoking, piece of cake. I was like, yeah, it tastes crappy. It's bad. Yeah, it affected my lungs, like my breathing. I was like, yeah. So really, I put them down. I was done. The alcohol took a little longer because my association to it brought me joy. Even though I knew it wasn't healthy for my body, I was getting pleasure. That was my pleasure, was the joy. I could relax, have fun, laugh, be the best dancer on the dance floor. So I thought, that took a little bit longer and a little bit more diligence in my focus, to go out and have dinner, knowing the people I'm with are all going to order alcoholic beverages. And to sit there with I usually get a tea and add some sugar to it, or a sweet tea, and sit there and just like in my head, while conversation's going on in my head, is reminding myself, how are you going to feel tomorrow if you drink? How are you going to feel tomorrow if you drink? Like I just kept asking that. And I feel like that was my heart guiding me in helping me make that shift. So again, it was like getting out of my head, even though my head was the thoughts, or the question, how are you going to feel tomorrow if you do drink? And dropping into my heart, where my heart was guiding me into just drink your tea. You're going to be okay. You're going to feel better tomorrow while everybody else is dragging ass. You're going to be more on your game than you typically would if you were drinking, right? So it's just this constant conversation with myself, sitting at a dinner table or being in a group of people like a barbecue, just constant dropping from my head to my heart. My heart's telling me, sis, we got you. You're going to be okay. And it's okay that you don't drink, like, because drinking was a part of an identity. So yeah, getting into your heart space, there's like magic. if you choose to follow the guidance.
Exactly.
And again, that's your spirit, right? It's your spirit
Mhm.
talking to you. It's my spirit talking to me saying, you got this, you're okay. You know, we're here to help you. Even though I didn't know what all that meant. I really didn't have a big understanding about any of it, but I was still like, yeah, I got to do something different.
Well, maybe that's part of it too, because as you're talking, I'm thinking what's happening for me as we're doing this having this conversation, and where my focus has been going constantly. So I'm not outside of myself. I'm not putting my energy outside of myself. I keep focusing. I'll start thinking about my heart. I start thinking about my heart. I start thinking about my heart. So it's putting that energy into another place. You know, as you were talking about the alcohol too, because I had many years of drinking. I mean, I don't even know. I mean, forever since I was a teenager. When I was a teenager, I was a blackout drunk. I drank to be blacked out,
Mm.
whatever. And to me, that was just my escape. But it's like the abuse, like continuing it, the abuse that you receive from a child, so shaming. I'd be so ashamed of myself sometimes the way I had behaved.
Yeah.
Because if I remembered any of that stuff, I'd be like, oh my God, I would shame myself and would belittle myself and ridicule like all these things, these things that now I can look back and know that that was from childhood. Like that came from being a kid that, you know, I had received it from somewhere. And then that's how I had talked to myself, how I had treated myself. But it's also, I would like to maybe take the word away, addiction, because it's not addiction. It's not addiction. It's really distraction. It's distracting from yourself. You know, it takes away, you don't have to deal with a lot of things. And I say deal with, that's not the same thing. If I was still in that same space of drinking, I wouldn't be thinking about my heart. How about that? That would be distracting me from my heart. That would be distracting. Maybe the distraction was the addiction. Distraction was just to take me away from coming back into myself, to coming into my heart, to feeling these emotions because they felt uncomfortable. But as you step into those emotions and you feel those emotions, they don't feel as uncomfortable. It takes the power away from, because you see that you were just this kid that was learning from the environment that you were born into, that you chose, that you were born into, that this is what you were looking for your growth. You wanted to have these experiences so that you could grow from these, so you could still love from these. So it's a pretty awesome place to be in, really. It's a
I
pretty
like
awesome.
I like that. I like that distraction because it was a distraction from me um receiving love in a healthy manner, and it was a distraction from me being with myself.
Yeah,
So all of it
100%.
pertaining to, it was a distraction from love,
Yeah,
right? It was a distraction from me connecting to myself. It was a distraction from me on my worthiness and deserving, because at the time I didn't believe I deserved any of it. It was a distraction. In actuality, it was a distraction from a healthy, true level of joy. Even though when I drank, I had a good time. That's when I was laughing. That's when I was relaxed. That's when I was, cracking jokes and just having a really good time. I equated the alcohol to joy. It wasn't a true sense of joy. Yeah. I like
no,
that word,
you just
distraction.
unleashed yourself. Yeah, because I think we put so much emphasis on addiction that it's like it almost keeps you into that same space of addiction. That's how I feel.
Yeah. And when I never used the declaration of I'm an alcoholic.
Yeah.
I was like, it just doesn't feel good to me to say that, to say I had an addiction to alcohol at the time. But, even though I quit in the heavy drinking in my late 30s, still drank a little in my 40s sporadically. Now I haven't had any alcohol in several months. But to declare today, I'm a recovering alcoholic. Those words don't even feel good. I'm like, I am. I don't drink anymore, and that's okay. But I still don't have to declare that title of being an alcoholic. So there's just, there's things that verbiage that I'm aware of. I would much rather say something to the effect of, I'm connecting to who I am. I'm connecting to my true self.
Yeah.
Instead of putting this moment and defining it as a past experience. Because I feel if I'm saying I'm a recovering alcoholic, then I'm still holding the space of an alcoholic energy. If I'm holding that space of alcoholic energy, then how am I going to move beyond that energy into more of my true self? And I'm just talking this out, and I'm open for a conversation, but I'm just talking this out in how I'm processing that whole thing.
Well, and it's just like, so when I was going through some classes up in Phoenix with Marsha Craven, she's was a really good instructor with a lot of energy stuff. But she says, well, I don't say that I'm retiring, because that's like you're doing it over and over and over again. So recovering, you're like doing it over and over and over again.
And it's a struggle.
And that would be like, I'm going to go jump on this hamster wheel over here. It's labeled recovering. I'm going to stay on that, or it's labeled retired. I'm going to go jump on this for the rest of my days. No, that's not until you like, no, what am I recovering from? I don't have to recover from anything. I was a distractionaholic. That's all.
There you go.
And I'm no longer distracted. I'm focused. I am paying attention to myself. So this is like I'm glad we're having this conversation that we weren't going to have, but because I say we weren't going to have, because I wasn't going to have it. It's like about the heart stuff, because I was still kind of working through it even this morning, because I was sitting and talking to Freeman about stuff like that. And, kind of how that I feel about this stuff, and trying to break it down and have some understanding about it. But really all it was is just for me to constantly give attention to my heart. It's like this little baby right there. And I'm nurturing it right now. I'm giving it attention. I'm loving it. So it's like I'm doing all that right now. It's just happening. Gives me goosebumps. So, but no, it's a good thing. No, it's just this life is it's a fun journey. And that's why I've said before, like look at these things, because we left a trail for ourselves. I'm not saying that all that stuff resonates as far as like going to the cafe astrology and looking at your natal report. I'm not saying that all of that applies. Maybe at some point in your life it has applied, but it's like if we've left ourselves this trail, so we have an understanding of ourselves, and it's not for us to be like punishing ourselves. It's for us to ask questions. It's for our own personal growth. It's our little treasure map.
Right.
Yeah.
And you know what? It just popped in my head, because I have something else I have going on today where I'm going to be talking to a group of women. And I was actually, thinking of the guidance, because it's a group coaching, and I'm what is the guidance, and it's not like a pre-planning. It's just asking spirit for guidance. I'm asking spirit for guidance in guiding them in, what would be beneficial for them to look at and process. And so this morning, what came up was blame, like big capital letters, blame. I was like, okay. But when you're talking about distraction, I'm like, that's the same thing. When we're blaming others, it's a distraction from me.
Yes.
Putting all my attention on them and what they're doing wrong, instead of pointing the finger at me and going, okay, well, what's my piece? Right. So anyway, I just wanted to throw that in there, that blame is a distraction. So that was a little side note.
It really is. No, it runs perfectly, because then that still fits with my heart stuff and everything too, because I learned a lot of that. I blame Jim for so many things when he was here, but it's like after he passed, and it's like, we don't have to go through the time when the person that you're with like that has to pass. It doesn't have to be that way. Then you start realizing all the stuff you did. What was your part? I feel like if I was to go to have my near-death experience, I'm experiencing a lot of my, just like looking at all the past ways that I have treated others, because it's really how we treat others. It's how we affected them in those moments. And I have a lot of these things that come up, and I don't push them away because I've asked for that. I want to look at a lot of this stuff and fix it now. It's not something that I want to just do it as a life review. That's not what I'm looking for. I want to, you've said it so many times that you want to get it all done in this lifetime, and, not have to repeat all this stuff again. I have another friend that has told me the same thing. He said the same thing. Oh, he's like, I'm getting it all done this lifetime. He says, I'm not coming back.
We never get it done.
Yeah, I feel like I'm going to come back. I've listened to some of these near-death experiences, and one of them said, like, out of all of the planetary systems that we have going on, he says there's a phenomenal amount that's going on. He says Earth is the hardest planet to go to. It is because there's so much, there's people against people and harming each other and all this other stuff going on. So it was like, that's cool to know, because we're doing it. And we talked last week about, wanting to take yourselves out, get out of this experience. And sometimes I'll tell you, and it pops in just a little bit for us, just like a millisecond.
Yeah.
It's like, I could dip out. Like, I could just dip out and just come back, but I know that I'm going to come back and redo all this stuff again. So it's like, no, I'm going to stay here. I don't want to dip out and then come back. I've made a lot of headway in this lifeline. I feel like God, in the last couple of years, I've just kind of been slingshotted. I've been catapulted, whatever. It's been like you're
putting a shaker cup, huh?
Yeah. in a very, like a soda bottle, like a champagne bottle, shaking it up and boom, like there goes the cork. And then Bev just went, all these emotions went everywhere.
Yeah.
But there's too much accomplishments for me not to want to finish out however this life is going to look, see what it turns out to be, because it just gets more and more exciting as I go.
Yeah, I agree. And I did early in the stages. I was like, yeah, I don't want to come back here and do this again. And nor do I want to finish out this life. Because I knew I had been told, and I knew in my heart that I was going to be here for many years. And I used to say, I want to get it all done. Well, the fact is, we're never going to get it all done, because we're energy, and we're going to keep coming into, by choice, depending on our ascension, that we can choose to keep coming back, whether on Earth or other planets, whatever that may look like for any of us. That I agree with you wholeheartedly. I have also come so far from where I was to where I am, and still getting better, that if I was, it's almost to me like it wouldn't matter if I took my life or when I pass, when I'm, when my timeline, it's like hitting a pause button. And then the next lifetime just picking up. I'm like, well, I want to be the best version I can right now in this lifetime. So when that play button's hit again, it's going to be better. It's the next life, carrying, and that's what I want to believe. That's what I can believe is my choice, that the next life will be even more glorious, because it's going to be with some different energy brought forward.
Yeah, I actually look forward to it, because we come back with this. I mean, I feel like we come back with the same energy family, the same,
right?
Just like, okay, like plays, like we're doing a play and we're going to come back. Okay, so this time we did it this way. Okay, break, everybody. We're going to come back, and you're going to be this, you're going to be this, you're going to be this, and then come back. But it's like today I will tell you that I loved the thought of coming back here. I know, if you asked me early on, I'd have been like, you're out of your mind. But it's like, especially if I came and talked to you from my space now and talked to my younger self would have been like, you're out of your mind. Like, you lost your shit, man. I think you're old. Like, you got senile way too early, lady. That's what I mean. But it's like I could see, like I've seen pictures of the Earth and from a distance, from way out in outer space, pictures they've taken, and it's like I am excited by those pictures.
Yeah.
I feel like I was so excited by those pictures because I was looking at this place like I am going to be there. Like I am going to be on this planet. I'm going in. I'm going in hot, people. But
Yeah.
it's like I got here, so it's like it's been a wonderful. I mean, not all of it. Not everybody would look at everything wonderful, but now that I've made it through so many other things, it's been a wonderful journey. I couldn't say that it was a bad journey. It's been a wonderful journey. And I know we can't get it all done, but we can do a lot, like in the stuff in this lifeline. I can still look at how things come up and how that I would have affected another person. There in sixth grade, I was going through a lot of stuff, and I remember picking on this kid, like really picking on this kid, because I was the kid. And then it's like later on, I was even more picked on throughout high school and everything else too. But it's like it going back to that time and like talking to his soul and telling him that I'm sorry, revisiting in that. And now when I go back to that place, is to go back to that place and give him a hug, because both of us just needed a freaking hug. That's where
Right.
a lot of this stuff was stemming from. And it's like we just didn't have anyone talking to us. And it's like a teacher could have yelled at you and said you're doing wrong, but it wouldn't have solved it wouldn't have helped me to reflect within myself to why am I behaving this way? Why am I doing this? Well, for me, I felt like the world was against me, so I was against the world.
Right.
I was, everything was different for me, but it's like, it's not me having my life review here. It's like that, letting that stuff pop up and not suppressing it as soon as it comes up, but like forgiving that person, forgiving myself. But then how can I see that? How would I create that space? If I'm creating my future on another parallel lifeline, on maybe I'm connecting to my child self, and I'm giving that child a hug, and I'm giving that grandfather a hug because he thought for some reason he liked the light of that child, and instead of wanting to love and honor that child, he wanted to take that light. He wanted to be in that relish in that energy and stuff like that. And I think there's confusion there, but it's like I feel like I can change that on another level. Before, I might have looked at it more of a fantasy type of thing, but it's not fantasy, because to me it's like really it is so healing. We don't have to be the story that we were growing up. We can create a different story, and it's not fantasizing or anything else. But if I'm writing my book and I go back to the beginning of my time, it's not going to be written the same way that it's been written. And then I'm going to integrate those feelings, that energy of that creation that I created into being, which means on some level, I'm healing myself. I'm healing past generations. I'm healing future generations. I'm healing myself along all parallel lifelines, all of them. Like there's a great healing that's happening right now. And I feel like sometimes these things, these emotions come up, and it's for us to heal on a global, for all of us, because it's not just me on my lifelines now, because we affect everybody else. It's now I'm affecting everybody else on all lifelines, which is huge, which is a whole bigger conversation for a lot of people. But it's like, I have an understanding of this. It was preposterous when I first heard about parallel lifelines, and this whole past, present, and future stuff doesn't matter. But it doesn't matter on an energy level, because there is no such thing as past, present, and future. It's like watching a TV show of all of your lifelines at one time. Like it's all happening right now. Your past, present, and your future are happening right now. So we have so much more control over how things can be, how they feel. And that's how we go off things anyways. I was listening to a man talking this morning about a near-death experience, and he had gone on his second tour to Vietnam. And it's like the way he's discussing or describing all this stuff, it's like there's nothing that stops us from this growth but us. There's nothing. And it's like just to and he said that he wouldn't have given he was glad that he got shot. He's glad this stuff happened, because he would never have had the experience that he had without it. It's just it catapulted him into a whole nother level. And just that appreciation of what had happened changes everything. And he also, during that conversation, had a flashback. He starts talking about, which we all do. When you start talking about your abuse, your traumas, your previous experiences, whatever they may be, you're bringing it to right now. And he's like, oh, I'm sorry, I just had a flashback to that time. And he was talking about when he got shot. Like it took him right back to that place, even though he had experienced a near-death experience and experienced God's love, just beyond, it was beyond anything that he could comprehend. So I mean, it's like we take ourselves right back. So why can't you create a new from the past? Why can't it feel better from the past? Because it doesn't have to feel that way. We can change it. And that helps the heart too.
Yeah, for sure. And I think what comes up for me is that when you're, like you said, you went back into with that memory, you went back into the past and remembered picking on that kid, that when you gave him a hug, that was healing your heart,
Yes.
right? And it was saying, you deserve love just as much as I deserve love. So let's have this moment. And so uh, it was a way of loving yourself to go back and do that in your
Yes.
mind, right? And in hypnosis and hypnotherapy, there's a technique, and it's a timeline where you go back. So I'm feeling anger, and okay, well, I can go back. I'll just use abandonment. So that's been my story. So I go back as far as I can remember, which would have been in my mother's womb, that I experienced abandonment, and then come forward with each experience that I can remember at the time. So if I was sitting here and remember those experiences where abandonment would have been like a main topic, and see it differently, and come forward and next see it differently, and just keep moving forward up till this, this moment in time. And that might take a few times to do that, because there's other situations that, we tend to push down deeper, or and forget about, or just suppress. Doesn't mean you go looking for them intentionally, like, oh, I know there was something else when I was 16, or it's okay. If you can't remember it, you can't remember it. It's all right. But just going back to each one of those experiences that do come up, and reframing the way you look at it, and moving forward. And so, yeah, that's like saying, okay, I'm going to love myself enough to look at these experiences and see them differently from an adult point of view than from a child's perspective. So, yeah, I love that. I think that's a great tool to use.
And it doesn't matter, like that goes back to the blame thing. It doesn't matter exactly who did it or what did it. These experiences were for our growth, honestly. And I'm sure there's some experiences that there people are, can't look at it any other way than the way they look at it. And that's okay. That's their experience, but this was my experience. This was how I felt things, and this is how I'm growing past things, and how I'm even seeing. It's so much more freeing. It's like we're magnificent beings, and when you can go back and create the life that you would like to see, be raised the way you would like to be raised, with all this love, this unconditional celebrating your, recognizing and seeing everybody like celebrating around you, clapping their hands when you first learn how to crawl. And if you go back to all those things and you're creating this person that's still you, because you're seeing yourself differently, now you're integrating that person into you. You're creating the magnificence that you want to be. So it's like seeing all those things like throughout your lifeline integrated. Do it again, do it over and over and over again, because different stuff comes forward. And I don't believe, like you said, we don't go digging for stuff, because it finds that when you start asking yourself questions about how do I do this, or how does this happen, or how can I feel this, or whatever you're looking for, it starts showing up in different ways. These little splinters work their way to the surface so you can see it. Not to be like, oh God, I remember this and this is what happened to me. It was horrible. It's to remember it and then to grow past it. And then it's to remember it. How can you change it? How can you, that's the same thing as seeing yourself as that little ego, or that little inner child, or your dark side, or whatever, that's having a temper tantrum, and just giving them a hug. All they wanted was attention. That's all they wanted. All they wanted was a freaking hug, just to be loved. That's it. And it's like we can do that with ourselves. It's not because we were lacking as we were growing up. It's because we can now see what we needed. How would anybody else really know what we needed? Because we're really the ultimate on knowing what we need and what we don't need. And then we're expecting everybody else to read our minds and read our emotions and be so in tune with ourselves, with us, when we're not even in tune with ourselves. when that person should be in tune with themselves and we should be in tune with ourselves. And then we come together, or we come together and allow each person to grow in that relationship.
Absolutely. And there's I mean, there's groups that do ancestral healing and the magnificent power of all of it.
Yeah.
Everything that we're doing, you and I are doing, anyone else in this space, the ancestral healing groups, like the amount of energy shift that is happening right now is amazing.
Yeah.
So amazing.
It is. If you follow like the Schumann resonance, they're showing like an influx of energy coming in. So there's a lot of transformation going on right now. There really is. There really is. And it's like people can be, we've talked, it's what you put your attention on. And for me, I'm going to see the things that I see that are good. And if something comes across my experience that feels uncomfortable, then I'm going to see, well, how would I make that? I'm writing this book right now. And I don't like the way that looks. But what would it look like if I did like the way it looked? So then I'm creating every day. That's how I'm creating. I'm going to create from that space. So it's like, that's just that feels good. That's a natural for me. I mean, good for me. Yay. I mean, not everybody could, like, just for me, it's being in that confidence and that space of love, and not protecting myself and allowing people in, and, everything else. That's a huge thing. But it doesn't mean that I'm better than someone else. That's just been my struggle. So that's my ego. My ego was out a lot. Like my warrior side was like every day, go ahead, bring it on.
Yeah.
Everything it was always that way, always.
Who's
And
ass
then
am I going to kick today?
yeah,
Right.
yeah. And then it changed, and it's like that's not people, because I needed love, and that means they need love too. So it's just perspectives change. The more you slow down and sit back into stuff, the more your views of things change. And when you can get into a space and just celebrate, man, I made it through that. Or, oh my gosh, look at what I created from that experience. There's a lot of blessings. There's a lot more blessings than there isn't. And I would not have seen that before until my perspective started changing.
Yep. Absolutely. I totally agree with you. Drop the mic.
You're silly.
Miss Beverly and her wisdom. I love it. You're so amazing.
Yes, you are. But thank you.
Isn't it great? We're just such a great reflection for each other.
We are.
I know. I love it. Well, my friends, did you have any other last words? Did you want to continue with anything else to say?
No, I mean, the only thing I would say is like really think about your heart a lot. Like every time you're doing something, because that's what I'm doing. And I've been doing it throughout this whole video, and it's like I'm feeling it more. So for me, it's like I have spent my whole lifetime, like if my heart was over there in the corner, I would have turned my back on my heart. And I'm just not in that space anymore, because now I want to embrace my heart. I want to feel all those things through my heart, like everything. So just put some focus onto your heart, like really focus on your heart. I got pink on today. I've got a red bra. Too much information, but it's true. It's red. I mean, that's like being grounded. And I've got pink for the heart chakra, because you can use green or pink. And they say as we're evolving, getting up higher in the fifth dimension, everything else, the color is going to change anyways, that it changes to more of a pinkish color. And it's like, just, find ways to celebrate yourself. So another thing that's good that I have been doing is like turn on a station for love music, and turn out music to yourself. Like love yourself, not in an egoic way, but like hear that music for your, like I love some of the words, but it's like putting that back to yourself, like loving yourself, because I didn't know what that looked like. What does that feel like? And it's like a lot of times we get into relationships and we want them to play this song for us, or we want them to think about us in the song, but it's like, what do you think about you when you hear that song?
Right.
So I've been doing, that's been another opposite thing I've been doing lately too, probably for the last, I don't know, a few weeks. And I actually had mentioned it to a couple of clients, just that people that were receptive to them weren't going to think, oh, Bev's really getting full of herself these days. No, No, it's just learning how to love and turning that energy back to myself so I can feel what it feels like so that when I give it out, I know what I'm giving out.
Because that's what we've all wanted. We just want to be loved and
Yes.
accepted, and we got to do that for ourselves first.
Yes.
I mean, it took years for me to learn this, people. So it's not like this was just something that I knew from birth. I knew it, but life experiences disconnected me from it.
Yes.
But to love me. And it's not, like Bev said, it's not from a ego, arrogant space. It's saying, my attention, I get to choose where to put it, and that attention, because I deserve it. I deserve it. I always have. I just didn't know it.
And the creator is not ashamed that he made you.
Right.
The creator is like joyful. So to when you hear those love songs, to feel how that creator feels about you,
Right.
that his creation or her creation. It's just to fill that space again. So it's I guess I'm finding ways to get in touch to the space now that we've had this full on conversation. That's like I've been integrating a little bit here and there, whatever I can tolerate or whatever I can, I guess, be allowed to feel at the time. Because sometimes if there's sometimes sadness might come up, and that's okay too, but it's to feel that sadness. Because on the opposite side, I'm creating, but yeah, that was a great time.
Yeah. And that, I mean, there's a lot of great times I had. But we forget about it because we focus on drama, because that's what we do.
Exactly.
Awesome. And one really good way to bring your attention to your heart space is just, I like to put my hand right over my heart center and or heart chakra, and I feel the warmth from my hand. Like there's like an immediate warmth, and that just drops me right into like right now. Or you could take, there's a thymus gland right there on the breastbone, and just tap there lightly. But also it's beneficial because that's your heart chakra. You're activating your thymus gland. And so giving some motion, action there. So that's a couple ways to get yourself right into that space. So with that, thank you so much, Miss Bev, for coming each week and hanging out with me and having these conversations. Are so valuable to me, and I love them so much. And this is our time, like this is our hour every week. And so I cherish it so much. And we just hope that we're bringing forth valuable, beneficial information for our audience. And if you know anyone who would benefit from our conversations, then please share it. We're all just doing the best we can. And if you can get some information that's going to help somebody, then please share. Please share. You can find us in Facebook, on Spreaker, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Google Podcast, Podcast Addict, and YouTube. So there are plenty of ways and no excuses for accessing our videos or our audios. So with that, you can also reach out to us in email if there's a topic you want us to talk about, or you need clarity about something. We're more than willing to be open to your input. So you can contact us, Amie, AMIE, and Bev, BEV @gmail.com. Awesome, Blossom.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Yeah. So with that, make it an awesome week.
That's right. Celebrate your heart.
Thank you, everyone.